Mr. Show Out TV, and this is the Sober Gang podcast where we try to inspire those in addiction. So if you tuning in right now, that's because you probably got questions and you probably want to learn a little bit more about your addiction. I got a very special guest in the studio today with us, so I would need y'all to stick around to the end. Are y'all ready for the show? Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Sober Gang Experience podcast with Mr. SHOWOUT TV. It's great to have you here with us today. I hope this podcast provides you with the inspiration to continue your journey towards a sober lifestyle. Please click the like and subscribe button before you start watching. Enjoy the show.
Exactly, just like you said it. See, it is very important for you all to continue to hit the like button. Make sure you hit the like button as soon as you start watching this show. I got a very special guest in the building, all the way from Australia. Yeah. We got him in the building today, everybody, and he will also be sharing his story in addiction and the battles he went through in addiction too. See, this is the channel that I'm bringing to y'all. I would love for y'all to try to just keep in mind that my channel is to inspire those in addiction. And this channel really just needs to be in the forefront. So please make sure you subscribe and you hit the like button. Welcome to the show, Ralph. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Budgie. How are you? I'm
doing real good. How is it out there in South Australia, man? You pretty far away from here, from Arkansas.
Yeah, so I am. It's 2:00 in Tuesday morning here.
Right.
It's about 11 o'clock on Monday morning there.
Yes, it's kind of it's still a little cold around here right now in March. Yeah, it's still a little cold here, man.
Yeah, well, I work up at a gold mine for 10 days a month. I'm semi-retired, but where I work up there, we just had 10 days over 105.
Wow. Well, this is the channel, man. I'm so glad that you reached out to me, man, and I'm so glad to have you on. We're going to start the show off. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Well, my name's Ralph. I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict. I'm 67 years of age, and I've been clean and sober now for about 29 years, since the 9th of February 1994. I started drinking and drugging when I was 13, I suppose, and it was a definite real problem by the time I was 18. I'd already stolen cars and got into all sorts of trouble by that time. And every time I drank, it ended up in a blackout and usually in trouble. And like many of our stories, I recognised I had a problem with alcohol. I tried to drink successfully, and I also tried to not drink successfully. And I found myself married and in my first rehab by the time I was 19 years of age, and I was introduced to AA and all that sort of stuff. But, I was unique in as far as I thought that I was smarter and I was better and I was going to find an answer to this for myself. So, AA and all that 12-step fellowships and all the stuff that I encountered at rehabs, to me was like for the masses, and I thought that I was different, I was special, and I was going to find this special answer just for me. Well, 19 years later, at 38 years of age, I was absolutely finished. I'd been hospitalised time and time again. I'd done 7 or 8 rehabs. I'd been married for 20 years to a woman who loved me dearly, and she got healthy enough in the finish to say to me, darling, I'm not prepared to, prepared to suffer and to have our children suffer by having you in the home anymore. So you'll have to go, And I knew this was a fact. I knew for me by this time that there was no way I was going to successfully stop drinking and stop using. There was just no way it was going to happen. It was just going to be a progression like it had been for the last 19 years, getting worse, worse and worse, until finally, you know, I'd end up in an asylum or something, or I'd end up dead. So I left and I went into this rehab, and again, it was just, I went in there really because it was somewhere I could go. Being thrown out of the home, I had nowhere to go, and it was a stopgap, and I knew it'd be a stopgap, and I'd go there, and then after a period of time, I'd get out of there, probably get into a relationship, get a job for a bit of time maybe, and then, you know, I'd start using and drinking again, and it'd get worse and worse and worse, and that'd be the finish. Mm-hmm. And there was no way that I could put a stop to it. No way I could change this. It just was a continuation of the shocking degradation. My health was starting to go extremely bad by then. You know, I'd be in and out of hospital every time I'd start to drink and use. And so anyway, I went into this rehab, and like I was my form, I wanted to be seen as the one who was doing all the right things so that you can get the best jobs in the rehab, because one of them rehabs where you had to work. Get the best jobs in the rehab, get the best treatment, look like the golden boy sort of thing. So, you know, someone come in one day and they said, do you want to go to a meeting? And I said, yeah, absolutely, I'll go to a meeting, terrific. I didn't want to go. I'd been to God knows how many AA meetings, NA meetings and stuff. By this time, I'd been to, I couldn't tell you how many I'd been to, and I thought, it's just not going to work for me, you know? Like, I knew the people there were the same, similar problems. But this stuff was just not going to work for me at all. So, anyway, I said, yes, I'll go to the meeting. And I remember I sat in this meeting and I looked around and I saw people there, and there were people there, and they had some joy in their life, and they had some hope in their life. And I had none. I was destitute. I had no hope and I had no joy. So I kept going to these meetings. That's all I can say, you know. Like, I kept working in the rehab, doing the stuff down there. And at night times, if we didn't have stuff that we had to do at the rehab, I'd go to a meeting. And I stayed in that rehab for 7.5 months. And then I had a trial unseparation with my wife. So I went and lived back in the home with her. Didn't really resume the relationship, but we worked on it, you know. And we had 2 kids who were pretty well grown up by then, but one was still living at home. So we had the 2 kids, and we'd had 20 years of marriage behind us. Even though I was still only 38 years of age, we got married very young. And so we tried to get back together. Now, after about 2 years of this, I was 2 years sober, I remember that, and there was a convention on, an Australian AA convention on up in Canberra. I'd been going to AA all this time, and what they used to quote as being stark raving sober. You know, I was one of these people that just went to 1 million meetings and didn't do much else except go to 1 million meetings and not drink and not use. And I remember this convention was on, and I said to my wife, you know, I'd like to go up. She said, yeah, go, like anything, get rid of me for a few days. She was happy, I think. So I went to this convention, and I heard some guy speak up there, and it clicked. You know, he was talking stuff that I heard. He had a message that meant something to me. And I went up to him after, and I said to this guy, I said, mate, it'll take me a couple of months to organise it, but I'll come up here and you can sponsor me. And he chuckled a bit and he said, oh, is that right? He said, now tell me, he said, is there anyone back there in South Australia that you know of who practices these 12 steps straight out that book of Alcoholics Anonymous? Well, I said, yeah, there's a few of them, but I don't bloody like them. And he said, well, I think they could be perfectly do something. He said, I want you to go back there, pick one of them, and ask them to take you through that book and do those 12 things. I said, all right. I did. came back and I picked this guy and I said, would you take me through the 12 steps? And he said, oh, no. He said, how come I get all the crackpots? He said, I'll give you one chance, mate. He said, you be at my back door tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. He said, if you're there 2 minutes before, he said, you'll wait there 2 minutes till 8 o'clock and then I'll open it and let you in. He said, if you're there a minute after, he said, forget about it. I'll never open it. And he said, ever again. There, I knocked on the door at 8 and he let me in. He sat me down and we started. He was a strange guy. He never really liked me. He never liked me all that much. He loved me for sure, but he never really liked me that much, and I never really warmed to him all that much either. But he gave so much of his time and he gave an amazing amount of effort, and he took me through the process of the 12 steps over a period of, it must have been 3 weeks, I suppose, and God knows he must have put 70 or 80 hours into me, you know. And we went through those 12 steps and it changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. And from then on, I've been 12-step based in all of my recovery stuff. So, you know, for the last 27 years, I suppose the first 2 years that I was sober or not drinking and using was preparation for me to be desperate enough, I think, to actually put the 12 steps into my life, to take those desperate measures, to do the things that they are certainly simple, but they aren't easy to do. You know, right. Making all those amends and facing the truth and talking about all your stuff to another person and going through all of that. And part of it was, like he said to me, because I was brought up a Christian, and I was, you know, sexually abused by ministers of religion, priests, that sort of thing. So I was really anti-Christian. I had a huge problem with Christianity. And he said the problem is with people with like you sometimes, and I found it with people that I've worked with as well. It's like if you're going to paint a picture, you know, you get your canvas. Now, if something's been painted on the canvas before you start, you've got to clear that canvas so you can start to paint on top of it again, you know. You can't put a new picture over the top of the old picture without getting rid of it first. And that was my big problem. Getting all of those preconceived ideas of a higher power or God out the way so that I could start a new relationship with a higher power, you know, and get a God of my understanding. And that's still happening today. That's the beautiful part of this, you know, because it's a relationship, you know. When my relationship with my wife, we've been married 49 years now, you know, next January it'll be 50 years. Right. Doesn't matter. Our relationship is growing every day, every week, every year. Our relationship is growing. Same thing with my higher power, you know. You don't have to have the perfect relationship with your higher power to get moving in this. We just start a relationship, and a relationship starts with meeting. And then gradually over a period of time, a trust builds and a friendship grows. Same thing with my higher power. As the years have gone by, I have got closer and closer to my higher power.
That's awesome.
I've got a better understanding. I've certainly got a better faith. You know,
that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. You also said that sometimes you have to want to do it. You know, you said you have to build up the courage in addiction. You know, sometimes we also don't always have the willpower and the luster. Sometimes we got to build up some of that luster sometimes that we don't have in us to actually open up. And you said, you know, you went through a lot of things with your faith, not trusting your faith because of some of the things you went through or happened to you. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Well, yeah, I think what happens is with the sexual abuse issues and all of that sort of thing that I had in my former belief, I suppose you'd call it a belief, or association with a religion, that had clouded the whole opportunity I had of having a close relationship with the power greater than myself. I can't really explain my relationship with the power greater than myself now, but it is so far removed from what I had before it's almost, well, it is, it's totally different. I am part Aboriginal, and when I go up in the desert and work up there on the gold mine, which I'm just a caretaker of the gold mine, and I'm often there on my own. And if I sit out in the desert some nights, I often sit out in the desert around sunset when I'm there on my own, and I just watch, and I become absorbed into the land and the nature and the winds blowing through, and I just get absorbed into that, and I become part of nature, part of the earth, part of everything that's around me. I have a total acceptance of life and death and the cycle of life, and I see myself involved in all of that, and I get so close to my higher power then, and that's a totally different thing. But it tells us in the book, it tells us deep down inside of ourselves is where our higher power is found, and I believe that. Deep down inside of me is where my higher power dwells, and that's where the relationship with my higher power needs to be formed. And this is why the steps process to me is so important, because I particularly need to go through that 4th and 5th step process so that my instincts come into balance. When my instincts come into balance, I am no longer at opposition with my fellow man, with humanity itself, and therefore I'm no longer in opposition with my higher power. I've become aligned with my higher power. And when I'm aligned with my higher power and I'm travelling with him or with the power, I get engulfed in nature, I get engulfed in life, I find joy, I find connection. We often hear this thing as a bit of a thing around the fellowship, or about around recovery at the moment, about connection. And I felt a bit strange about that before, but then I was thinking about it just the other day, and it's very, very true. Connection with my higher power is only possible when I have connection with humanity, when I become part of the human race. And of course, it's in that 4th, 5th step process is where we look at the selfishness which separates us from that. Self. They say that the eradication of self is such a great thing in recovery, because self is always inside of me, trying to get out and demand more and more for me. But by acting outside of self, acting altruistically, then self gets eradicated, and I can become one with my fellow human beings, become one with life, form connection, and then naturally that connection goes through to my higher power. And then at the end of the day, when I put my head down to sleep, I feel joy, true joy. And of course, we can do that. We have total release from addiction.
Yes, sir. You have really said a lot right there, man, because sometimes, like you said, when you just unwind and you get one with yourself, that is like the best thing, getting to know yourself, like with the outside world. Sometimes, like say, when you out there by yourself and you're in the desert and you just focusing on you, that's a big part of it. So I have a couple questions I would love to ask you, Ralph.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Did you have any support from any family members when during your addiction?
Gradually, I did for quite some years, but gradually it all faded away because it was just too hard. It didn't matter what they did, didn't matter how everyone tried to help. It just made things worse in a way, because I just rely on them or blame them. And until such time as the support was removed, then I could focus on me. The support was there, but they eventually got healthy enough to stand back. And I knew they loved me, but also I knew that they knew they couldn't help me.
Awesome, Master. I got the next question. When did you realize that you had a problem?
Oh, God. I was probably about 16. I suppose. I drank differently than the majority of my friends. I never drank without getting drunk, and if there wasn't enough alcohol to get drunk, I wouldn't drink.
I was like that too. I was one of those drinkers, Ralph, that I had to get drunk. It wasn't I had to get hammered before I left any kind of, party or whatever it was. Basically, I used to come there drunk anyway, so yeah, that's how it was with me. All right, I got the next question, Ralph. You're doing awesome, man. You're doing awesome. What was the underlying factor that led you to addiction? I mean, just what was the underlying factor? What just led you to it?
I don't know, Boozy. I mean, I can say I came out of a house where financially there was no hardship, and yet I came out of an alcoholic home. I come out of a physically abusive home, a sexually abusive home, and emotionally abusive home. But I think, if you talk to, and I have, I've spoken to a lot of girls who've been through homes for abused wives and all that sort of stuff, and come out of terrible physical abuse, and they'll all tell you the same thing, and I believe it's true, that the worst abuse is emotional abuse, and it's that emotional abuse that fills us with shame, that fills us with guilt, because that's, emotional abuse is controlling people with using shame, using abuse, belittling them, tearing people down, and it's often done by people who don't even know they're doing it. They're sick. We find that out in our fourth and fifth step stuff, and find compassion for them because they're sick. And I did it to my children. I emotionally abused my children, and I didn't know I was doing it. But I came to see that I had done it also. It was passed on to me, I suppose, in a way, through my parents and role models as a kid. So I think if there is any one underlying factor that you could say was behind my addiction, it would be emotional abuse.
Yeah, you touched on that very nice. I love your answer to that, because people just do not realize physical abuse and the difference between, like you said, mental abuse. Mental abuse is just as bad as physical abuse, because the mental part of it can carry a long way. Also, like you said, it's a trickle down effect. It can go to your kids. Your kids pick it up, and the grandkids, they'll treat their kids in that type of way. And and you also hit it off the head when you said some of the people that's doing it don't even know they're doing it. They don't even have a clue. Like you said, they're sick. And we also talk about mental health on this channel as well. I'm gonna get to that with you also. So what are your thoughts about mental health and addiction?
I only know it probably from, I'm autistic and ADHD, and it seems as though there are a lot of addicts are ADHD, just amongst friends, etc., that I had. But I don't know that there is any greater amount of addicts because of mental health. I think, mental health is such a massive problem for all of society, and we are just learning as a society, as a community, how much mental health is involved. It's almost, if you don't have mental health issues today, you're in a minority, I think. Right. And the thing is with mental health, what I've found in my journey and the journey of friends of mine, etc., as well, is that what needs to be treated first is the alcoholism and the addiction. Once the alcoholism and the addiction is treated, in my case through the 12-step process, then I could do something about my ADHD and autism and depression, and I've got PTSD. I've had a couple of serious auto accidents and lost my daughter to cancer, and I've had bouts of depression, etc. with that too. But without treating the alcoholism, the other wouldn't be treatable. I think that we need to, as alcoholics and addicts, we need to treat our disease of addiction first, and then we can treat underlying or overlaying circumstances like emotional abuse, depression, autism, whatever it may be. Any mental health issues can be treated then.
You're absolutely right, because I just want to go back to what you said about, mental health, especially with emotional trauma and things of that nature. It's like you said, Ralph, man, it's just a lot of people that really don't know that spousal abuse, it doesn't always have to be physical. It's the mental aspect of it. And that can just be, like you said, belittling the person, just running over on a person is just as bad as the physical abuse. It's a lot of people that going through things like with their spouse, with their girlfriend or boyfriend, that actually don't even know that they are actually really causing more harm with the mental part of it. And that's a big thing also, because when that is involved, a lot of issues start to happen, Ralph. You start to want to go use, and you want to go find an outlet or something to just get away from life and reality as it is. So you also right on that. I had another question for you, Ralph.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's one of those things that's passed down from generation to generation. And one of the most beautiful things I see about it is when we come into recovery from addiction, we can also, because we go through that, well, in my case, I went through that 12-step process and identified how the abuse has been passed down, identified that I'm capable of it myself too, with my wife, with my children, particularly spousal emotional abuse. I wasn't a physical abuser or a sexual abuser, but I'm very guilty of emotional abuse, the most harmful of all abuses. I'm guilty of that, and can put a stop to it.
Right.
That's the beautiful thing, is it can stop here. We don't need to pass it on to our children and their children, etc. We can change our whole, family, our whole world. We can change just by coming into recovery and working on ourselves. And that means we need to find compassion for the people who have abused us. We have to start to understand it. It doesn't mean they haven't done the harm. It doesn't mean that we don't feel the harm that's been done to us. But we can have compassion because they didn't choose to do it. It was passed on to them. They didn't have the benefit of coming into recovery and seeing these things and being able to put a stop to it,
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Like you said, when we're going through it, we have the ability to stop it and stop the trickling down effect. We can change the narrative of that. You're absolutely right about that, Ralph.
That's a fantastic thing, Lucy, that we can, it can stop here.
Finish this sentence for me, Ralph. Finish this sentence. Let me see. My name is Ralph, and I am
an alcoholic addict.
Awesome. That's the first step. We gotta admit. The next question, Ralph. Who is Ralph?
Who is Ralph?
Yeah.
Ralph's just an old chap doing the best he can on a daily basis.
Awesome answer. Awesome. I love that one. When did you manage to control? When did you manage to start realizing that you can control it? Was it the meetings, or when you just started to realize that you can control it better, or is it control, or is it controllable?
I don't believe I ever gained control. I believe that I was relieved of the active addiction through basically asking for help. Asking for help from a deep level of desire. You know, we were talking before about windows of opportunity. I believe there's a window of opportunity where an addict can reach out, ask, because like we are self-dependent people, we hate asking for anything. But that we come to a spot, this window of opportunity where addicts can ask for help. We can take that step away from what we're doing and ask for help and try and do other things. Because 12-step recovery is not about thinking. If we could have thought ourselves clean and sober, we would have done it right at the start.
You're right.
You know, because we thinking all the time. We're deep thinkers, and a lot of us are very, very clever.
Right. We come up with a ways to find an extra buck. Hey, in our addiction, Ralph, it's not
you gotta
witty.
be clever.
You gotta be clever. we gotta be witty. We gotta be witty, Ralph, because a lot of people sometimes
they don't like to do.
Yeah,
we never want to go out and do things we don't want to do.
Yeah, we want
to. What we're asked to do in recovery is to act in ways that seem unusual and strange to us, to do things to get a result rather than to think our way into a result.
Oh, Ralph, man, I'm loving this interview, man. I like your personality, Ralph. You awesome. All right, finish. I got another question for you, Ralph. Finish this sentence. Today I will not.
Well, today I will not use.
Awesome. Awesome answer. Awesome answer. Okay, I got the next question. How important is this show to you and to others battling addiction?
We never know. That's when I saw this and I took up the opportunity to come on here. We never know if we might have the opportunity for someone to hear what we're saying. It only needs to be one person, doesn't matter, you know. If one person can hear me, identify with me, get some hope from me or whatever, and think, fuck it, I'm not going to use today. You know, I'm going to take steps to try and do something about this, you know, and realise that getting clean and sober, getting into recovery isn't about not using. It's not about not using. That's the good part of it, you know. It's about changing our lives. It's about changing our circumstances. It's about putting that stop gate up, you know, so that we don't pass on the stuff that's led us to be in the position that we're in to our children or to our friends or to whoever, you know, our partner, that sort of stuff, you know. This is an amazing opportunity. One person can change the world. And as addicts, this is our opportunity.
And that is what we creating on my Sober Game podcast. So if anybody out here watching right now, if you out there watching and you paying attention to me and Mr. Ralph interview, we are trying to inspire those in addiction. Just one person. If we can inspire one person, we are doing our job. And so I would love for you, this is the time where I would love for you to subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button and subscribe to this channel, because it is very important that we continue to try to spread our stories and our journeys in addiction, because we're just trying to inspire a lot of people in addiction. And I would love for y'all to continue to come to this show and to watch us. So I got another question for you, Mr. Ralph. Man, I can talk to you all day, man. Okay, what makes you smile in your recovery?
What really makes me smile is when I see someone get clean and sober.
Awesome.
Really.
Awesome.
And often it's the people I don't think that are going to get it.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. You know what? That's the best thing to do is, I've been 18 months clean. I did my 18 months ceremony. You can go watch it. It's on my channel too. I'm gonna have it after we finish doing this. You can also go watch that as well. I did my
Yeah.
18-month ceremony, and Ralph, I never thought that I would see 18 months clean and sober. It's amazing to me, and it's a blessing because I knew everything that I went through. I'm going to college right now, Mr. Ralph. I'm trying to get my master's in drug and alcohol counselor. I made the dean's list. I'm just focused, Mr. Ralph. I never thought that I'd see it coming, but it started with me, Mr. Ralph. It had to start with me. I had to understand my addiction. I had to man up to my addiction, and I had to change it. See, my daddy was an alcoholic, and I just wanted to change the narrative. I didn't want my kids to, like, if I had died before I got clean, Mr. Ralph, they just would have said, okay, daddy was a good man, but he was a drunk. You know, he was a good dude, he was a good father, but he was a drunk. I wanted it to really change the narrative of my life, my family life, and at the same time, I could be inspiring others because I know what they went through. I've been there. I can relate to them. So, hey, that is really, it's a blessing, like you said, seeing other people in recovery, knowing that they are making it, and knowing that you can actually talk to them now. So the conversations be a little bit different when two sober people are talking to them, how it used to be when we used to meet up with our friends. You know, the conversation be totally different. But I always tell people this though, Mr. Ralph. I never thought that being sober can be so fun. Being clean, I can have so fun. You know, we always taught that it's boring. You want to? I don't know what they told her. I'm enjoying life at this moment, Mr. Ralph. I'm happy. I'm smiling. Everybody can see the aura, and everything about me has changed. And when people walk up to me, they could be like, "You glowing?" They say you glowing. Because I was always probably hungover when they saw me, Ralph, and all this and that, all over the place. But okay, I got the next question, Mr. Ralph. You're doing awesome. You're doing awesome, man. Out of everything you have, everything you went through, Mr. Ralph, what have it taught you, and what have you learned from the experience and everything that you went through?
That's a hard one, isn't it, BJ? That's a hard one. I was just thinking about my daughter, you know, when I got sober, she was 20. And when I was asked to leave home, she told me she never wanted to see me again. She never wanted to have me in her life in any way, shape or form ever again. And 22 years later, she died of cancer. She died at 42 years of age with cancer, and I was there every day just about for the last year of her life while she was dying. And she formed a very, very, very special bond to me. I know when she was in the hospital and she was basically in a coma, one of the last times she ever reacted to anything is when I came into the room, you know, and I said, "Oh, hello, darling." You know, I spoke to her even though she was in this coma. She goes, "Ah," you know, it was that special. I remember that because she never used to react to anything at all, you know. And when the last time I saw her, I left the room. I was doing swapping over with my wife. I did 12 hours. She was coming in to do 12 hours. And I held her hand and I said to her, "Darling, you don't need to hang on any. I'm so proud. Such a beautiful, wonderful girl." You know, and it was just that fantastic, warm, but shockingly sad feeling because we'd had we'd had two lives together. We'd had my drinking life together, 20 years, and my sober life together, 22 years when she died. And all the harm that had been done in the first 20 years had disappeared, and we'd formed this wonderful, strong, fabulous bond in that 22 years. And not long, about a fortnight before she died, she said to me, she said, "Dad, if you're not dead, don't stop living." And there's a lot in that for this, because every day we get up, we get the opportunity to live, not to die of addiction like we did every day during our, most of the time I drank and used for blackout, until I passed out, basically. So basically living to die. So now I live to live, just enjoy the day.
Ooh,
and
awesome.
Best gifts from this whole thing is enjoy today.
Ooh, awesome, Ralph. Awesome. You said live to live. I'm steal that from you. I'm stealing that from I'm definitely stealing that one from you, Mr. Ralph. Thank you again, Mr. Ralph. This has been an awesome episode, everybody. This is Mr. Ralph, all the way from South Australia, everybody. This show, we are reaching out to people, everybody, and that is our goal. We are trying to inspire you in addiction. Addiction can work. Addiction, we just got to put in the work, everybody. If you put the work in, if you go to your resources, if you just try to find a facility somewhere in your community, reach out to certain resources and people that has done it. It's a lot of people, a lot of sponsors. So if you have any questions or anything, any issues, there are people out there that can help you with those issues also. And if you are wondering, how can you become a guest speaker on my show? I have my email at the bottom of the screen. I also will have my email in the description box. So you can email me if you would love to share your story and your journey as well. Okay, Mr. Ralph, is there anything else that you would love to tell anybody that is going through addiction? Can you give them some words of advice?
Well, I think what I would like to say is, like, in this addiction family, if you like to call it, there's no black, there's no white, there's no LBGTQ, we're all family, because addiction overrules all that stuff. Right. And then the recovery from addiction brings us just all so close. I am amazed to this day. I can go and meet people in recovery, and they can be, anywhere from these days, from 14 to 80 years of age, and we've got that instant connection that overrides all of that stuff. It's a beautiful thing.
Mr. Ralph, I could talk to you all day long, man. Like I said, thank you again for joining the show. I would love for you to join my membership. Join my membership, Mr. Ralph, and you can support, you can send donations through there as well. I will be finishing up this live, and I will be sending it to you. But I am so thankful to have you on the show, so you can shed some light, and you can also, your journey and things that you talked about can maybe inspire those in addiction as well. So thank you again, and also just continue to reach out to me. I'm here. You know how to find me. I'm not hard to find. If you have anything, or you have anyone that you would love to see them share their story, just let me know.
Thanks, BC. Thanks for the opportunity, mate. You're doing great work.
Thank you, sir. See you again.
See you, mate.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Mr. Ralph, first and foremost, all the way from South Australia, everybody. We are trying to create a positive environment over here on Mr. Show Out TV. We are trying to inspire those in addiction. We are reaching out to the masses. We are really touching a lot of people, everybody. And just continue to show your support. I would love for y'all to continue to show your support. Let me see this right here. This is how you can show your support, everybody. Right there, that's where you hit the notification bell. Click that bell for all videos. So anytime I drop a video, you will get notified. And right there is the join button. You hit that join button and you can become a member, an official member of the channel. You can support the channel from there as well. We are creating a sober community. We are reaching out to the masses, and I would love for y'all to continue to rock with me each and every day, each and every episode. This is 2023, and these interviews that I had this year so far has been great, everybody. So thank you for everybody that's showing love and showing support. Mr. Show Out TV. Till next time. Yeah.
Welcome to Mr. Show Out TV Recovery and Addiction YouTube channel, where we hope to inspire those battling addiction. Please subscribe and like the channel. Make sure you click the notification bell to get notified whenever we broadcast. Thank you and enjoy the show. To support the channel, you can send donations to Cash App $Mr. Show Out TV. So please don't wait, subscribe now. Together we can help and give inspiration to millions of people.